Hello and welcome to this new video. It's a pleasure for me to see you here. And what we are talking about today, we are talking about the impact of TDD if you're looking at the security topic. And if you want to know what this is and you're interested in this, then stay tuned. By the way, my name is Robert. I'm developer advocate for JFrog, and if you like this mix of cybersecurity stuff on one side and outdoor style on the other side, then it's a big pleasure for me to see you as my new subscriber if you're not already subscribed my channel. So if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and by the way, turn the bell on so that you're not missing any new videos. And now it's time to start. So first question, what is TDD? The theoretical answer is not so easy because you have different approaches. The first one is a test first approach or middle out TDD. It means that you're writing first all tests you want to have, and then you're coding against this test until the functionality is there. Well, some people say that is a pre-version of TDD. Some people say it's the original version of the TDD. But in the end, the core message here is writing first a test and then writing the application against. So there's another approach. It's TDD by Ken Beck, and he is this says that you're writing some code, some tests against it, then code again, then test again, and so on and so on. So it's a mix of writing tests first, writing the test during the time you're coding, and so on and so on. But in the main thing is that you're writing the test during the development phase, and this is called TDD, a la Ken Beck. Okay, there's a third approach. It's acceptance-driven TDD, or what's the other thing? It's outside in TDD called, and this means that you're coding all this stuff, and then in the end you're formulating a bunch of tests that are testing and accepting this implementation. It's more or less domain-driven testing or whatever you say, but the opposite of test first is this test acceptance TDD, or this acceptance driven TDD, so writing all tests in the end. So these are more or less three main streams in what TDD can be. Okay, theoretical approaches is one thing, but how TDD looks in practical life, and this is the only thing that's really relevant, because only the real experience TDD, or how it's done in practical, is really influencing the security. And what I saw in the most projects, or the best approaches mostly, was that you have maybe a few tests in the beginning because you know some corner cases and all this stuff. Then during the development phase you are adding more and more tests and have this ping pong between writing tests and code and tests and code and tests and code. And then in the end mostly you have some maybe a change formulation or more concrete formulation from the domain part or whatever, and you're adding some tests and seeing if this is covered as well. And the most developers know over the time of a project, the use cases are slightly changing and so on and so on. So the main point here is that over the time we are creating a bunch of tests, and this makes sense. And now the question, why these tests are increasing security. So yeah, talking about security, let's start with topic compliance issues. So if you're looking from the economy part and you want to make it secure, it means that you have to have an ION license. And this means you have an open source component or a transitive dependency of an open source component that is not running under the license that's allowed at this part of the project with this usage or whatever. So it's just the wrong license, it's the right place. And then it means you have to change this piece of software with a semantic equal implementation or with slightly different implementation, writing wraparound. So if you have a very strong test coverage, then you can change it very fast and make sure that the behavior of the application is the same. So the part security in terms of security economy, this is done or is covered by a strong test coverage. And I'm talking about strong coverage like mutation test coverage, or sorry, not just line coverage, really a strong, good coverage. And then getting rid of compliance issues is easier as without this strong test coverage. Okay, talking about security, First of all, thinking about vulnerabilities. To get rid of vulnerabilities, what can you do? You can increase or decrease the version. So you're changing not the component itself, but you're changing the version of this component. And with a very strong test coverage, you can just change the version so that you have a new version composition of the same component. That's all the tests run. You're safe. Okay, it's green, and then you can push it to production. It's slightly different if you're talking about malicious code packages. Malicious code packages can be that you're just increasing or decreasing the version. It can be the case, but if it is a hijack project or something like this, sometimes you really have to switch the implementation. And then we are back in exactly the same corner case or in the same case with compliance issues. I have to find a semantic equal implementation. I have to replace the implementation by another implementation. And again, strong test coverage is helping me to make sure that I have the same functionality in my final product. So a strong test coverage is helping for vulnerabilities, compliance issues, and malicious code packages all the time. So what do we need? We need two things. We need a very efficient dependency management. And with this dependency management over all take layers, we are flexible in ramping up, ramping down the versions or changing dependencies. And on the other side, as a safety belt, we need a very strong test coverage. And both together is a very, very powerful weapon against vulnerabilities, malicious code packages, hijack projects, compliance issues, and so on and so on. And this is a typical tool that every developer should have. So this was what I think is the impact of TDD for security. And if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you not already have done it, please subscribe my channel. It was a pleasure for me to see you there as my new subscriber. So, and whatever day and time you're watching this, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good rest of your day. Stay safe and see you.